I was debating on how to start this video, and I guess there is really not any good way of starting this video because unfortunately I will be getting rid of my Infiniti G20, and yes, I'm gonna miss it. For those of you guys that have been following the channel for a long time, you guys are aware that I've had this Infiniti G20 for around 7 years, maybe a little bit more actually. And during those 7 years, I've made a lot of videos on this vehicle and I have uploaded them to my YouTube channel. I pretty much started recording on this vehicle and showing you guys how to fix your cars and just modifying it to my liking. And over the last few years, I haven't really done much to this vehicle. The last thing that I really did to it was pretty much a 5-lug conversion, and I installed Brambos in the front. But aside from that, this vehicle has just been sitting, and a lot of you guys have pointed out in my videos that it just kind of became kind of like a shelf to support all the other parts that I had for other projects. And yes, unfortunately, you guys are definitely right. I have not been doing much work to this vehicle over the last few years, and it has just been parked. Mainly the reason why I was not driving this vehicle was because after I did the 5-lug conversion, I drove this car to Mexico for an important interview that I had, and along the way it did break down and I had to replace the alternator, which I did make a video on that repair, and I was pretty much stranded on the side of the road and I had to fix it. Luckily, I was able to repair it and get back on the road and make it to that important interview that I had. But ever since then, this vehicle kind of started giving me problems, and I was not able to figure it out. One of the biggest problems that I had was that it would randomly shake when I was going around 70 miles an hour. It would shake a lot, very violently on the driver's side right here. And it was very dangerous to drive like that, so I decided to stop driving it. I didn't really have the time to look further into that problem. I would jack up the vehicle, move the wheel side to side to see if I can figure out what the source is of that problem, and I was not able to figure it out. And it was not until recently that I was able to figure it out. So long story short, I did find out that I needed a CV axle on the driver's side, so I did replace that. But the problem didn't go away completely. My guess is that the CV axle ended up damaging the bearing on the differential, and every time I go over a certain miles, like 75 miles an hour, it starts to shake again. Not nearly as bad as what it was doing before, but it still does it. So down the road, the transmission will likely need to be replaced if the problem continues to get worse. So that is kind of the long story of why I stopped driving the car. I just couldn't figure out the problem that I had at the time, and I had other projects going on, so I kind of just put this on the back burner and I never really went back to it. Now, my father-in-law reached out to me and asked me if I was willing to trade any of my vehicles for his truck. And I have been looking at a truck for a while now because I definitely need it for my type of work. I have a storage unit that I have a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it's hard to kind of go back and forth in the vehicles that I have. So I definitely need a truck. So if you guys have not guessed it already, I am gonna trade the Infiniti G20 for a 2001 Chevy Silverado, and I have posted videos on that truck on my channel as well. It's a yellow truck. It's not the nicest or the prettiest truck out there, but it's a truck and I know it's mechanically sound. I recorded that footage that you guys just saw maybe 6 to 8 months ago. And I've had a lot of time to kind of reflect on the whole situation. If I could go back in time, I would stop myself from doing that trade because I feel like that car deserves more, and I definitely didn't do it justice by trading it for a truck. At the time, I don't know what I was thinking. I think it was maybe just because I never really drove it since it broke down. So I kind of saw it as a way of getting rid of it and not getting rid of it completely because it's still in the family technically. And I still see it from time to time. I see it, you know, whenever I go to my father-in-law's. But the thing is, I feel like maybe I gave up on that car and it didn't deserve that because It was always there for me when I needed it, to go wherever I needed to go. And it was one of the first vehicles that I kind of started my YouTube channel on. So I definitely messed up on that one. And I wish I could go back and change that. Unfortunately, we can't do that. The only hope I have now is that maybe one day the car will come back to me. And I hope it does, because I put a lot of time and sweat and money into that vehicle. And I know it's just a car, but when you are emotionally attached to something, it makes it a lot harder to let go of it. And it was one of those stupid things that I did, and I'm just gonna have to live with that. But I kind of wanted to show you guys the rest of this video just because I filmed it. But I did want to talk about how I feel now that it's been some time since I've recorded this. So yeah, there's not really much we can do but move forward, I guess. Wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more of the car, just for those that are not familiar with it. I have done a JDM conversion in the front. So this is a TEV front end conversion. It has glass headlights, the kidney style grille slash hood. It has the TEV front bumper with a little tow hook right there in the front. In the front, I do have a 5-lug conversion, pretty much all around actually. 5-lug conversion. And in the front, I figured out the best brake solution for these vehicles, and that is I have a Nissan 350Z Brembo front caliper along with 12.65-inch rotors in the front. Those rotors you will find on pretty much any Nissan vehicle out there that does not have like the Brembos or the Acabonos. So these are 12.65. The stock rotor size for these Brembos are 12.75, I believe. So yeah, these are a little bit smaller, but you need that smaller rotor to fit on these Brembo calipers, because if you use the bigger ones, it will not clear and you're gonna have to grind them down. But this, I found out, fits perfect. There is some minor adjustments that you have to do, but I'm pretty sure you guys can figure that out. I used longer bolts to secure the calipers up front. But aside from that, it was pretty much a plug and play. I used the stock lines. The only thing that I used different was, I think, the banjo bolt. I used the banjo bolt from the Spec V Brembo rotor, Brembo caliper, I apologize. And I was able to fit that up nicely. I currently have these wheels on there just because they have decent tires. Aside from that, I mean, the car is pretty much as you guys might have remembered it from my previous videos. The interior is really not bad at all. The custom seats are all holding up pretty good. So yeah, no issues in the interior as far as tears goes. I mean, it's a really clean car. It currently does have 176,000 miles. AC is nice and cold. Radio and everything works. Pretty much stock in here as far as, radio and all that stuff goes. A long time ago, I ended up painting this valve cover red, and it's still holding up pretty good. I recently did the valve cover gasket again, along with transmission pan gasket. So for the most part, the vehicle is pretty well sorted out mechanically. The only real issue is that transmission bearing, which, like I said, it does kind of have some issues at higher speeds. Overall, this car is in amazing condition considering the age of the vehicle, and I feel like it's going to be very hard for me to ever find another vehicle, another Infiniti G20 I should say, in this condition. But yeah guys, this is pretty much going to conclude the end of the video. I have a lot of things that I want to get off my chest when it comes to this car, but it's just kind of hard to put things together in words and describe how I feel about it. It is a car that has always been there for me when I needed to go somewhere, and it's a car that never really let me down, and I was always able to count on it to get me from A to B, and I thank this car for that. I am thankful for all the great memories that I've had in it and for always getting us to our destination. I will forever have this vehicle in my heart as one of the best vehicles that I've owned, and like I said, I'm not selling it, so in a way that makes me feel a little bit better. But yeah, this will be the last video on this vehicle. And until we meet next time, this is goodbye.